Oh my gosh, it was crazy, bro. It was crazy. And this is the first episode. Imagine watching it from the beginning to now.
Is someone watching TV?
No, I think this is real life drama and unfolding.
Oh, that's in your house, then?
No, this is. I think this is happening at Beto's.
Oh.
Because I'm seeing, I'm hearing seeing his Avi pop up.
Beto, you better control that dude.
Take out your belt and just snap it a few times.
That was me drizzling a little bit of blood in the water, just waiting for Ronnie to just okay, that's enough. I have to just go after. It's too easy.
Chum in the water.
Evening, John.
Señores, how are y'all?
John,
Good, man.
We're good, man.
¿Cómo estás, John?
Muy bien.
Everyone saying hello at once. Thank you so much.
I did say hello, man. I was
I'm
like,
walking,
hey.
I'm walking through where they have the San Antonio rodeo right now. They just had it. It smells bad. It smells almost as bad as the LA Galaxy played last night.
Jesus.
Oh.
Well, that's a good intro, John, to the show, since we're actually now officially live on the air. So,
well, how about that? Great.
So welcome, everyone. Loyal listeners, we are welcome to another edition of the Dos a Cero Football Podcast. Hosting today is, after several weeks off, Daniel Preciado. Thank you again for having me. On today's show, we'll be discussing the quarterfinals of the Concachampions League, the big-time showdown of MLS versus Liga MX teams, which hopefully, according to everything is going according to script, where hopefully the Mexican teams will come up on top. Also discussing today will be some of the controversial chanting directed at Giovanni Dos Santos. Also, including some of the more interesting quotes made over the last week, including Robbie Keane's quote regarding the current state of both leagues. We'll be discussing some of the interview that Diego Simeone did, as well as a recap of Liga MX, the Clásico Regio, and our usual sprinkling of Chivas and Huilas talk. Joining us today on the podcast, we have Christian Vélez out in, where in, is it Connecticut? I need to write these things down.
That's right, it's Connecticut. Just a general glove that is the Northeast.
All right, well, welcome to the show. How's everything?
Everything is great, man. Everything is, there's no complaints. I just want to take this chance to give a shout out to my neighbor Carlos. He's been listening to the podcast. Carlos is from Argentina. He's retired, and he spends his days drinking $2 PBRs at the bar downstairs and yelling at the kids that steal the 8-ball from the pool table. But, I don't know if he's listening. He might be, but I just want to give him a shout out.
That's great. Anybody that's that we can coax into listening to the show outside of big soccer is quite an accomplishment. So way to make the show grow, Christian.
He's got nothing else to do. He's like I said, he spends his whole days drinking $2 PBRs. I mean, he might as well throw a couple podcasts in there.
So I did want to ask you though, were you able to enjoy your long weekend, or at least your Saturday of soccer watching? Game after game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was. I mentioned I was going to make sure I got drunk on Friday so I could have a real excuse to stay home on Saturday to watch the games, and that's exactly what happened. I got some food. I watched 3 or 4 games back to back. It was fun. I don't get to do that very often, so when I get a chance to do it, I really do try to make it count.
Well, great. Thanks for joining us today. So next on the list, if he's available to speak, we have Albert Chiquis Campa. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
You guys remember the time I put some fork in the toaster?
You hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Someone a little bit louder than you, though. Just a
No,
little
it's-
bit though, but it's all good.
These background noises.
So welcome, dude. How's everything? Anything fun to share with us? You enjoying
No,
tonight's
not really.
games?
Well, I wanted to make my Pumas comment on the Libertadores, the Olympia, the team that they played. I didn't watch the game because it came on early. But
So you jolied it?
yeah, they won. They're in 12th place.
Hey, snap!
They're in 12th place.
That's the new term I came up with. Whenever you didn't watch a game, you jolied it.
They're in 12th place, and I heard Pumas was celebrating pretty festively the win. But
Oh man, that's great. Good stuff. Next on our wonderful list of informed panelists, we have probably our most fun character here is Fernando Regino, also known as Perndog. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm glad you were able to join us, and I'm glad I'm hosting because at least I'm able to dictate where some of the conversation goes.
I'm glad.
And I just wanted to make sure that I called out your how should I put this? Your hurtful words, man. Your hurtful words.
Oh, which ones?
I listened to last week's show, and in order to prove a point, you used hyperbole, and you described, just the prior season's champion as the worst Liga MX team. I would agree that it is not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. And just exaggerating like you did was a little bit hurtful, and I'm just saying it's a little bit easier to be super leaders of the league when you're not involved in any kind of
Daniel,
when you're not playing in any other tournaments. When you fail and bail out of international tournaments, well, then it's easier to do well in the league because you only have to play once a week.
Well, I do have to admit that I did
And thank you. And joining us next on the list is.
I did embellish that a little bit, but ninth place is a little bit different from first place. Just wanted to also point that out.
It's all good, man. All good. I actually tried to join the show, guys, but the Google Hangout wasn't opening up the chat from the stadium. But I was trying to call in right after halftime to give you guys an update of how the game was coming along.
Well, we'll have something in place next time to be able to mitigate these user errors in the future.
Yeah. You know what? That's the thing, dude. I am technically retarded, so that is a valid concern.
Well, I do think it's safe to say that Pern is the Sheriff Joe Arpaio of this group.
What?
What's interesting is that he's able to coax everybody somehow to give him all of our passwords to our personal computers. It's like, oh, just give me the login. I'll fix your computer up right away.
It's called social engineering, buddy.
But yeah, he's good. But actually, moving along, we also have Joel Aceves. Good evening, Jolie. How's it going?
Hello, Dan. Pretty good.
So, did you watch any of the games this weekend?
You know what? I didn't, but I did listen to the Chivas game on the radio.
Oh, that's fun.
I was keeping it old school. Yeah, only like the second half, but.
Why, dude? Almeida, why, you don't like the way he looks on TV or what?
Nah, dude, it's just estoy pobre, güey. Tengo que trabajar, and my schedule changed, so that makes it that's made it tough on me for.
How convenient it changes on Chivas games, huh?
So you missed last week's episode as well, right?
I did. I couldn't. I came out late from work.
And
yeah, we know what you were doing. We know what you were doing, Joel. You don't have to give us late from work.
I was not at Rita's.
Well, I was actually asking if you were, because these guys were, if you had a chance to listen to the show, because these guys were insinuating that you and Juan punked out of the show essentially because you guys didn't want to face the facts that you were going to have your butts handed by Dorados.
Oh, no, that's actually the new clásico for Chivas, el clásico del descenso. So.
Tune in every week.
Nah, man, nah.
Well, that's good,
I
man.
mean, Chivas are used to this now. I think this made, being mediocre. So there's nothing to be ashamed anymore.
So which one's better?
I mean, we lost last season, right? We lost to Dorados last season too.
Which one's better, the Clásico Nacional or Clásico del Descenso?
I think right now it's more exciting, Clásico del Descenso, man.
Yeah, it's definitely more.
You could be seeing that game in second division pretty soon.
And the Clásico Nacional is almost always a letdown.
I think honestly now, like all jokes aside, I feel like Cruz Azul America has been a better Clásico.
What? You're crazy.
Yeah, for recent times they play more often. They play for more cups and stuff. Compared to like at one point Chivas and America were even playing at Copa Libertadores. And then you don't see that anymore.
But you're crazy, man. There is no better Clásico than the Clásico Regio. Man.
Oh, you're talking about? I thought you were talking about Chivas America, no?
Well, I'm just telling you which was between those two, but you said, and then you brought up.
Oh no, I misunderstood. I misunderstood. That one's another very good. That one's a very good Clásico too. But Super Clásico now, no confusions. I think it's not what it used to be.
All right. Well, I don't want to.
It is coming up in 2 weeks.
But we also got John. We were expecting you late, but I guess we started late, so I guess we waited for you. So welcome aboard.
It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. I'm sorry I'm not in my cozy confines. Just finished working a Spurs game. I was on a machine that I've never been on before, so that was interesting.
No, you do
but
Spanish.
I didn't screw up.
You do Spanish language, right?
No, this was in English. I was working for the Detroit Pistons TV broadcast tonight. So, but I didn't screw up. So the people in Detroit, you don't have any reason to be mad at me. It was your team that sucked. It wasn't me. So just want to.
I was just wondering, what do they call the Spurs in Espanol?
Las would be the Spurs in Espuela. So I guess it'd be Los Espuelas.
Is that what they're called? Or are they called Los Spurs?
No, they call them Los Spurs.
Okay. Good. I like
Los Spurs. Yeah, no, it's been a good week. Pumas, won a game in South America for the first time in who knows how long. The last time they were in the Libertadores, they didn't win home or away. So it's nice to have them get 6 points. And I'm gonna have to. I'm not agreeing with Perm, but I do think that as far as derbies or like intra-city rivalries, I do think that the Regio is certainly the most passionate and interesting, just because there's nothing else to do in Monterrey, so all they have are their two teams. So and it's a city that's pretty much equally divided. So it makes
John,
for a very interesting game.
John, there is one thing to do in Monterrey.
What's that?
Watch the weather.
That's true. You can sweat your ass off in Monterrey. You're absolutely right. I forgot about
No, I mean the weather channel for updates.
You can watch the weather. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, you're right. It's
well,
you can watch the weather over and over and over.
I mean the weather, girl. The camera's way.
Oh, he probably didn't see the video. It's okay, man. You're not missing out much.
The video. Jump. What?
Oh yeah, he did. That's right.
Yeah, John's the one that posted that.
What do you mean you're not missing that much?
Well, I didn't find. I didn't go looking for it. Somebody had posted it. I thought that I wanted to calentar ánimos, in the Clásico Regio, and
John has it on infinite loop.
That's right.
Well, I got your calentamiento right here.
That's right. But it's great to be with you guys. I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk about the Champions League. I was kind of halfway expecting America to struggle tonight, but I'm glad they were able to pull through.
Excellent. Well, glad you're able to join us. Rounding out our wonderful panel of so-called know-it-alls is our probably least favorite guy on the show, Ronnie Del Luna.
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, Dan, by any chance that new machine that you were on, was it the Simeone machine?
I'm sorry, no, the machine I was running.
It was actually. I like to write on top.
You guys don't know what
I don't know what that is. What is that?
Google it.
No, don't. Let's not. Let's just leave it.
Yeah, I got your Simeone machine right here.
Yeah, just Google it when you get a chance, Dan. But make sure it's in incognito mode,
Did,
please.
did you see the movie Howard Stern Private Parts?
Is
He
it
made
where
a
someone
movie?
has like a really big subwoofer?
Damn, I had no idea how Howard Stern made a movie. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Ronnie,
subwoofer scene, man. Just
Ronnie,
pretty
were
much
you
like
There you
asking
that.
go.
me
The
if I was
wolf.
on the Sibian the night? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because you said you weren't on a machine that you've never used before. I'm thinking the Simeon.
It was no, it
Uh,
wasn't. It was actually a machine called the Viz,
Oh, okay.
but you know,
Hey, lo
it
bueno que no dijo, it wasn't the Simeone de
doesn't
mierda.
it doesn't
No.
vibrate as much as the Sibian.
well, that's the first
So
overly
Jake,
racist remark for tonight.
so
But
Jake,
I have heard
out of
though
the way.
that they use the Viz a lot on over on the BBC. So
All right, I'm putting a picture on the Hangouts talk so you can know what we're talking about.
All right, we're gonna choke literally on all these jokes. So I guess
All
we
right,
should
done.
probably actually start
some
the show
people can
after
choke on a bigger joke than others. So just remember that.
Well, some jokes are bigger than others.
Yeah, I got your joke right here.
Okay, I think that's
Hey,
about.
Remember, it's not the size of the joke; it's how you tell it. Just remember that.
Wow. Four uninterrupted jokes in a row. I think you guys have filled the quota for tonight.
Terrible host, and not stop them from discussing penises in their mouths.
You let all. Hey, man, you're kind of easy host, man. You let them all in.
You know, we should behave ourselves a little bit better considering the type of listeners that we have tonight. You know, I've been informed that we have that other show's host, Wiso Vasquez, listening tonight. So you know, let's try to keep it somewhat professional. I know we like to grab ass, but you know, we want to be somewhat respected, don't we?
Well, that could be our new tagline now: 28% more professional.
There you go.
10% more politically correct.
And almost professional. Yeah, no, whatever.
Someday we'll get that social justice warrior approval.
Anyway,
No,
Dan, as you were saying.
I did want to say hi to Wiso. I know I actually did give him a little bit of a hard time tonight, or today on Big Soccer. But he was a good sport about it, and I didn't really mean anything by it. But anyways, on today's show, so let's just talk about the actual Concachampions League, and I wanted to discuss last week's game just because I was fortunate enough to go to the game. It was a really it was a fun experience in the fact that there was that I think Santos fans outnumbered the Galaxy fans, which I was actually legitimately surprised. One, I didn't think Santos would care enough to travel, and I didn't suspect that there would be that many Santos fans just in Southern California to show up in the numbers that they did. And then I just figured, you know, with all the recent quotes that certain players have made and some of the expectations with this current Galaxy team, that we would be seeing a much more riled up crowd or much more involved crowd, and they were greatly outnumbered. The Santos fans, like at every time the Galaxy fans started chanting or something, their supporter section, they got drowned out as the Santos fans started chanting. So I mean, from that standpoint, it was entertaining. The game on the field was pretty much. I thought it was pretty poor. I thought both teams looked poor. Neither team was able to really create many chances, at least not quality chances. The Galaxy looked incredibly slow. It's hard to see how Steven Gerrard was ever in Liverpool and is actually a legend with the team, considering how slow and poor he looks today. He was the one guy that was just, man, that guy looks terrible. I thought Gio played an okay game. I mean, as far as compared to everybody else, I thought walking away with a draw was something I was perfectly okay with. I know Christian had his doubts, but I felt that getting away with a tie they've never been able to win in Mexico, so I didn't suspect that it would happen today. So from that standpoint, I felt confident going into yesterday's game, and obviously Santos did a great job of just starting early, shutting them down, and going into halftime with a 3-0 lead, and basically finishing any kind of hopes that the Galaxy had. The rest of the matches have gone pretty much according to script. Right now we have, earlier today we had America playing their second leg, winning 3-1, and currently we have Tigres playing Real Salt Lake. So, Christian, I know you had some thoughts or some thoughts about the games. What did you want to start with?
Well, in general, I guess we could start with yesterday's game. DC and Querétaro. Querétaro, even with a very underwhelming sort of performance in the two games, they did just enough to get by, and I think that's pretty much, they'll go on to the next round, but I don't imagine them getting through to the final. It's just a very sort of average team. The other game too, I mean, like you said, I mean, the games have pretty much gone according to script. I mean, there's not really, if anything, I would say that, maybe you've seen maybe a little bit more competitiveness out of some MLS teams when it comes to these instances, but, like the Seattle game tonight was really, really underwhelming. They kind of just sat around and tried to defend for the whole game. That's never usually going to work at Azteca. It's just it's a losing proposition, And right now we were watching a little bit of the Salt Lake game. They've come out on fire. I mean, they really could be up 2-3-0 right now. Tigres looks like they're half asleep. I did have my doubts about the Santos Galaxy, the second game. I thought Galaxy would have a chance to get some goals on the road. They did not, and Santos really did surprise me. They came out on fire and literally dominated for the entire 90 minutes, and that game could have easily ended 6 or 7-0. That's how much of a gulf we saw between those two teams yesterday. But I mean, overall, like you said, I mean, this is pretty much going according to the script. Based on what we're seeing right now from Real Salt Lake, I mean, they could end up topping this. They could end up taking this game, maybe. So I guess that would be a silver lining for MLS fans. But overall, I mean, it's all been par for the course. Let's be honest.
Yeah, agreed. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vern.
I was just gonna say this is an indication that that MLS is just not up to par in terms of quality with the Mexican teams. Man, like look at this, just terrible. To all four teams, almost 3 of them already eliminated. One's in the virtual elimination, but there's always that chance that Tigres is gonna embarrass the Mexican League. But that's always a chance, no matter where or what. So.
Vern, are you rooting for Real Salt Lake tonight?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you hoping that Tigres loses?
Oh, well, we just got to wait until what happens in the game. But so far, man, it doesn't look good. So we'll see how it goes. But I think Real Salt Lake has a really good possibility since they're playing at home.
Well, I'm sure that would make you really happy. I'm sure that would make you really
take a lead, man. Commit to it, man. Yes or no? Do you want Tigres to be eliminated by an MLS team?
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question, Vern.
Oh, well, the likelihood that, that MLS team's going to be, like, victorious anywhere, it doesn't matter when it happens. Eventually, 1 out of 3, it's going to be a Mexican team who's going to win this Champions League.
Wonderful.
I watched the Santos game yesterday, and I guess what took me by surprise, not that it should, but it really did, it was just how, first of all, the fact that Santos scored, kind of like they scored in bunches. Those 3 goals came very quickly for them. But what really took me by surprise was after that, and even throughout the rest of the match, I didn't want to watch it on Galavisión because my Galavisión is like center cut, and it's 16 minutes. I'm missing, what's going on the wings. It's just complicated. So I watched it on Fox Sports 2, and I think it was Brad Friedel, and he was going on and on and on and on and on and on about how he's like, despite the scoreline, it says, he's basically saying this Santos team is not a team that the LA Galaxy should have any problems with, and they were losing 3-0, and he just kept hammering us like, this is a team that LA Galaxy can compete with.
Yeah, if that's
And
who it was, yeah.
He just kept saying it. It's like, dude, it's 4-0, and especially that last half hour of the game, where, like Christian said, Santos could have easily, if they didn't, take their foot off the gas, they could have easily have scored, 2, 3, maybe even 4 more, very after Martin Bravo got his second, very easily. I mean, they
turned it off after the 4th goal.
Well, just to add on real quick to what John was saying, I mean, this Santos team from yesterday was missing their midfield guy, El Pulpo. They started Diego de Buen, who was, I think, racked up something like 4 minutes so far this season, right? And this is a guy that went toe-to-toe with Nigel de Jong. And, like the guys that were supposed to be the go-to guys for the Galaxy were pretty much chasing Ulises Davila and Diego de Buen, Giannini. That's where the quality shows through, because all you hear is about, well, if such and such hadn't happened, if the preseason this, if this and the other. Yeah, well, there are issues that these Mexican teams are dealing with as well, namely fixture congestion and rotation of players, So, I mean, it just pretty much falls on deaf ears, and I think it just sort of helps to victimize the MLS fans and the MLS teams, and it's an internal struggle for them. It's an issue they have to deal with. It's not an issue that the region is going to deal with for them.
So,
it's a self-inflicted wound.
Christian, so you're saying because they play victim, they can't get ahead? Did I hear this right?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a weird victim thing that happens. They sort of victimize themselves.
It sure does. It sure does.
But it's like, but if you look at, like, for example, the MLS website and the predictions they made, and I know there's some weird double entendre with Ryan. There's the predictions that the American pundits were pumping out prior to the series really made no mention of the now what's become the stock excuse, the preseason preparations or the lack of preparations.
Well, actually, in all seriousness, no, you're right, because I hate when MLS pundits try to start, they start to justify their results, saying, well, it's because of the calendar and this or that. Well, keep in mind, when Mexican teams started participating in South American competitions, the congestion, the travel, the home field advantage was really obvious. And you guys can remember, I mean, all the obstacles that Mexican clubs had to endure, and yet they were still getting results. At the end of the day, quality is quality. And I think that, MLS is they're doing themselves a disservice by blaming it on the schedule, because I don't buy that for 1 minute.
No.
Because Mexican teams, they've also had problems with scheduling in South American in tournaments, and yet numerous clubs have reached the semifinals, even the finals.
Tigres,
Tigres
just this past summer,
When you have to just continually rely on excuses, and when every article that you read is prefaced with one thing or another, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've read where the excuses from if they bail out, if some of the teams bail out during the group stages, you'll hear the argument that says, well, they're prioritizing the league, they're not going to put too much importance to this. So it's always like they're never going to be held accountable for the results.
Not only that, Mexican teams have to play the group stage or the Champions League on their preseason.
Well, that's how every team does. I mean, that's every team except the MLS, actually, is pretty much in their preseason.
The schedule was from 2008 to 2000. I think there's a solid 3 or 4 year period there before the schedule was changed. It was a complete opposite of what we have now, and MLS teams didn't really fare any better. So I mean, to me, it just falls on deaf ears at this point, and it's just. I mean, if I was truly an MLS fan, I would be annoyed at this point, because when you have Claudio Reyna, Don Garber, and all these figureheads of MLS that come out and are making these weird predictions that within 5-10 years, MLS is going to be this, going to be that, and to me, the funniest part about this is they always reference the growing excitement of the league. And to me, Ronnie just put it very, very clearly. The way I see it is excitement is great, but it doesn't equal quality. I mean, I'm sure it's nice that they have really nice infrastructure and people come out to the games, but it's a very sort of insular thing that happens with MLS. They build themselves up within their bubble, and then the moment they step out of it and things don't go their way, then it's all of a sudden it just, the season, the schedule, the snow, the birds, they looked at me wrong, they called him borracho. It's always something, and it's just like, if I was an MLS fan, I just want to see my team go out there and compete. Pretty much like Real Salt Lake is doing right now. They're going out there, they're running, they're trying to get goals. That's what you got to do. At the end of the day, if you're starting off, if it is a disadvantage, I can understand the argument that it's a disadvantage, but it's a disadvantage it's a self-inflicted wound. It's just something MLS is doing to themselves, not anybody else is doing to them.
Adding to what Juan Manuel Lilo said about the way Mexican teams play, one of the things that that helped Mexican teams play well in the South American tournaments is that they wouldn't go to to El Centenario, or they wouldn't go to La Bombonera and just sit back. I mean, they would try to take it to River. They would try to take it to Santos, or they would try to take it to Peñarol. These, a lot of these MLS teams, man, all they do is just they try to still capitalize on errors rather than trying to play for the win. And I just think that the excuses, like you're saying, it's not helping. But I honestly think that their style of play will not allow them to take it further.
That's an excellent point. I mean, at the end of the day, you are talking about a difference in styles, and I mean, the thing about the leap in quality that MLS has we're gonna get into this a little bit later, but Robbie Keane had a very interesting quote before the game.
You can go ahead and go with that in that direction.
Well,
I think we've already covered so go ahead.
Dan, you and I spoke about it before the podcast started. I thought there's a difference between sort of being a cheerleader and also being realistic with what really has been happening. What Robbie Keane said, there is no factual way of looking at what he said and thinking that he was right. I mean, there just isn't. I mean, since Robbie Keane has been in MLS, I think this is the 4th year, no MLS team has won the Concacaf Champions League. Mexico went to the 2012 Olympics and won the gold medal with 17 out of 18 players that were developed in Liga MX. That was 4 years ago. And since then, it's really been you've seen an improvement in the way Mexico deals with youth development, and there's been a little bit of more success in South America. Tigres just made it to the Copa Libertadores final. So I mean, there's things I can point towards that would completely negate what Robbie Keane said. But I understand what he's doing. He's got to sort of keep things up and sort of pump his teammates and the fans up. But I mean, the problem is that there are people who actually believe that and are not really willing to be objective about what's been actually happening on the field, which is where the problem lies. Because if you're not able to be objective about what's going on in the field and your shortcomings, I don't see how you can actually improve outside of your own bubble that is MLS.
So, my main
I was
issue
under the impression. Go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm under the impression, when you talk to MLS fans, that MLS is in a notch just below the English Premier League. I always say, we're, the top team in MLS would be a mid-table team in England. I always hear that, and I'm thinking, are you guys watching the same league? Because I mean, there are times when especially when I work a game, and there's stuff that I'm really looking for when I'm looking, and I see guys in MLS. I mean, I hardly ever see long distance shots. I know that the DC United got one yesterday, and every time I see a cross, the guy never looks to see who he's crossing to. He's just kicking it, hoping to blindly, find somebody that'll connect to it in the box. So, I mean, there's vast room for improvement in league in the MLS. Rather, I think it's going to happen eventually. There's no question it's going to happen. But for them to, the fans and the players and everybody to have a certain expectation and what reality is, there's obviously a big disconnect.
Grant Wall had a good tweet today. He said, "How is MLS going to be the best league in the world, the best league in their own continent?" Meaning maybe the North American continent, but they haven't even played against South American teams, so they would get destroyed in Libertadores or some other.
But MLS, they go about getting their foreign players. I know that they get a couple of Colombians and Argentines and that. But when they sign their big players, they sign big players for marketing purposes and not for what's best for them on the field. Andrea Pirlo is a great player. Don't get me wrong, I think he's fantastic. But man, maybe things will be different this year. But last year, if he was playing at half speed, 80% of the time, it was lost. The dude just, he's not. There's so many guys like him that just aren't focused, and they just, they're there to pick up a check. And I'm starting to see that a little bit with Giovanni too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think it started off a little bit.
Well,
And Giovanni, I think, again, it's unfortunately one of the things that has characterized his career is that he makes really
terrible
bad decisions. And I think imagine if Giovanni wanted to come to this part of the world, I understand. Imagine if he would end with America instead of LA Galaxy, how different his life would be right now.
Absolutely. And the thing with Pirlo, as someone who saw him play at New York City FC games when he came over, understandably it's a new team, and there was always going to be bumps in the road for them. But the team definitely took a dive in performance once they had to insert him and Lampard into the team, because they have to justify the fact that they splattered these guys' faces all over the city for marketing purposes, and people kind of show up to see them. And Andrea Pirlo is just the pace of MLS just took him by surprise. He was not ready for that, and he was a complete detriment to the team. And Frank Lampard, to a slightly lesser degree, was much of the same. These guys, if going into the season for New York City, if they really think they're going to use these guys as any sort of potential game changers, it's going to be another disappointing season for them. And going into the Giovanni thing that you said, it's just he obviously went there for the lifestyle, and I think that's what a lot of these guys are coming here for. It's one of those things you hear a lot about is the quality of life. Of course, the quality of life is good here, but is the football good enough for you? Jovinko's the exception, really. Jovinko pretty much came over and took over the league, and he was the best player in the league. But other than that, it's just.
And he's not even that good.
He's very good.
He's a real talent.
Real Salt Lake just hit it off the post. Tigres better watch out. John, I'll
were
see
you
the
going to
word
say something,
to you.
Beto?
Yes, go ahead. Go for John.
Go for John. Go ahead, dude.
Oh no, I forgot what I said. I just said it earlier. No, but I was going to say on the Robbie Keane comment after the game, Bruce Arenas came out and said that wasn't the case. That there's still a gap between MLS teams and Liga MX.
I think it makes it kind of hard to avoid that very obvious reality.
I just heard gap. What?
That's what.
White gap.
Yeah, he was triggered.
I guess my biggest issue with Keane's comment is that, I understand that they have to sell the league. They're paying them. They're getting paid a whole lot of money to try to increase the appeal of the league. I get that they have to sell it. That's part of their job. But to say that the Mexican league has stagnated when you have to look at everything that's actually tangible, it's not even remotely close. It's not even debatable of what league has done more. And then when you have the one competition that you could actually go to where they actually compete against each other and it's so lopsided, how do you say that the distances are how one is growing and the other one is stagnating? Or throughout the broadcasts, I guess if it was Brett Friedel was making those commentaries, how you can actually go out there and say, the differences aren't that big. I'm like, keep saying it and you might convince us. Just keep saying it. I too was watching the FS2 coverage because of Galavision's stand. It was shocking how much they apologized for the team's lack of quality. Anyways,
Yeah,
that was my
pretty comical.
little rant about it.
There's no question. And so, like I said, earlier today, Dan, you said that you and Gio can be friends again. So, go down to Redondo and buy him a beer.
Hey, I got to comment on that Geo stuff though.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to bring up next, and since you did bring it up, since we can be friends again, some people are gonna tell him not to be friends with me anymore because of what me and my fellow Santos fans did to him as they flew into the city, and as they basically every time he touched the ball, he got greeted with a borracho chants.
He deserves it though. That's what he gets for joining an MLS team and retiring early.
So does he deserves it because he went to MLS and retired? That's why he deserves it?
That's exactly why. Because
it's not like they were calling him the other word that they love to say to the goalkeepers. I mean, it's all in good fun. I mean, geez, come on.
Yeah, but
it's just banter, man.
It was started because of Marchesín. And this is sort of awkward out of him because he.
What? Who?
Marchesín
or Marquezine.
But at least Marchesín said, hey, you know what, dude, I was just kidding with that, and and they talked about it, and then it was it was done. It was
because he was sort of awkward the way. I mean, why would you say that? Playing a dude, you humiliate him some other way, but he had to bring up that, and that's sort of like a low blow. But I understand it's all in good fun and everything. But it's
not in good fun. When you're playing in a game, you try to get the best advantage no matter where. If you want to mess with the guy's head.
Though, I think what he said was really lame. I mean, I think of all the things you could be called, borracho, I'm like it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. I think it was a low blow. Obviously, Gio did something to piss him off at some point to drive him to say that. I mean, something between them. But really, borracho, if anything, it just gave the fans something to grab onto, and then a reason to jeer Giovanni. I mean, I think, and there was a lot. I actually kind of posted about this earlier. The whole thing with Giovanni, like, how could people be surprised or offended by the chant? One, something you legitimately hate unless you're a fan. I think it's just they're playing against them. You want to impress the coach at our expense. You're trying to talk up this league when you should be playing here if you really want to be playing with the national team. There's a whole lot of layers to why the fans kind of turn like
Dan. Dan, here's the deal, Dan. Like, seriously, Marquezine actually did you guys a favor. Marquezine united all the fans into one chant. He's the hero that you need and you also deserve.
It was a lame thing to call him. It was a lame thing but I mean, I have no issue with him doing it.
I agree. It was a really cool way the fans turned it around.
Yeah, the fans following his example and stuff. It's sort of it caught like Andrea Canales. It caught her off guard. She didn't like it because.
Oh my God! Well, let's stop the presses.
Why is she being brought up here? Why?
Explain this though, because she was saying he's a national team hero. He scored that goal in the Gold Cup to win that game and everything. And how can the fans just turn on him? And then all of a sudden, if he eventually gets on that,
but they haven't turned on him. They turned on him. He was wearing the opposing team's shirt. He played his first official game in Mexico.
That's what I'm saying.
And he wasn't playing for a Mexican club.
Could you imagine the ridicule that Santos fans or Santos as an organization would be feeling if they're going to be the one team that's like, oh, welcome Giovanni, just give it to us. We're going to bend over and take it.
Giovanni could have reacted in the way that a player should have when in that situation, and that's by beating the team. He didn't do it.
Hey, but Leon, when Leon went to play this tournament, it was just like a one-game cup. They went to play against Barcelona. And didn't when Marquez was playing for Leon, did he get some sort of standing ovation in that match?
But that's a different. I think that's a different.
But he's been at Barcelona for 6 or 7 years after that. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at that point,
and he didn't come back wearing the Galaxy colors.
There's really no excuse to that.
When you're playing I think when you're wearing, if you're a Mexican legend and you put on that MLS jersey, I don't care. Especially, I don't even think it matters what team you're on. But if you're representing that league, and you come playing against a Mexican team, I think by and large, they may applaud him after the fact, but like while the game's going, they're rooting against them.
At that time, his Mexican card suspended.
I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually gets called up for the national team, that the fans support him and get behind him. It was a club.
Oh, they'll support him.
Of course. That's why I tweeted to you guys that now we can be friends again. The game's over. It's all good. We were trying to get in your head. If we did, great. If we didn't, we won. So who cares?
Hey, would you guys get upset if the fans start te queremos borracho, te queremos mucho chant over there?
Hey, you guys don't pay. That happens at Chivas all the time with the borrachos. You saw with Omar Bravo. He even went to Atlas. And Marco Fabian, and some of the same people are now, hoping that he does good in
Germany. Yeah,
I
am surprised. I guess I'm not surprised that MLS fans and/or journalists would find it surprising that the Santos fan would take out, they'd give some banter to Gio. I think that's kind of where it ends, though. It was just banter. I agree with you guys. It was like, if you're gonna insult the guy, there's probably a couple other things you could have used. At least get a little creative with it. Make it stick.
It was harmless.
I know. Harmless. No one's gonna die over it. You think Gio's gonna die? He's going back to his mansion. He's going to wipe his tears with $100 bills with naked girls around him.
I think if Marchesín really wanted to hurt feelings, he could have said
how many naked girls?
The Fernando approach.
We can speculate on that, but I'm sure Gio's not going to lose any sleep over that.
He may lose sleep over the fact that he may pissed away his best chance of impressing his coach in front of Mexican opposition.
Yeah, that's really where the problem is for him, as far as his national team prospects, and it's been a thing with MLS fans sort of take offense to that, but partly it's the quality of the league and the quality of the competition that he's facing, but also because Gio he's a very good player, but he's not a player that's gonna lift up a team like the Galaxy. That's not really his style, and so if they brought him in thinking he's gonna lift them up, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell him. I think they're throwing $4 million a year out the window.
He should have gone to Club America. He should be on America. He should be like the ídolo de la América. Martin wrote an article. Where is the America's idol? He's played at LA Galaxy.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's where the idol is.
Pretty much.
To clarify, I was going back and forth.
Wait, did America even try to get him though? It doesn't even seem they even went after.
Gio has been on record many times as saying, if I'm going to play in Mexico, I'm playing for America and nobody else.
Right. Tigres did try to bring him over, and
Gio said, if I play in Mexico, I'm playing for America and nobody else.
Yeah, and America, I think they were trying to feel him out, see if he would be interested, but I don't know if they actually made any real effort into.
He said he would consider Mapaches and Unión de Curtidores, but America is the top.
The thing with America is we've talked about the way that they've been signing players. I made a comment to Ronnie before the show started. The quality of the backline that America has, just with a backline, it's like it's pretty average. It's not really that good. So I know this is the centennial for them. They want to probably make an impact, but they should really be looking at bringing in some quality in the back at least. Gio would have been a nice boost, though.
How many red cards did America have tonight against the Sounders?
None, but I think they did get a couple yellows.
I saw that.
Sambuesa could have gotten a red card if the ref was being a jerk, because that play with Dempsey was it was laughable, really. It was laughable because
that was funny.
Dempsey goes down with no contact, and as Sambuesa is sliding over to get the ball, he grabs his leg and forces him to the ground, where Sambuesa loses his footing and ends up kicking Dempsey in the face, and he started bleeding, and it was like this huge uproar about it. It's like, why are you grabbing the guy's leg? You know, what are you doing grabbing somebody's leg? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? You know, and that's one of those things. You know, Dempsey. You know, es canchero way.
Especially a guy like Sambuesa, who was a master of the dark arts. You know, he's the kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's not a single person
Dempsey
here.
bleeds like my Lee.
Oh no!
He stepped on his head though, man. He stepped.
He did. But if you watch the clip, you'll see that Sambuesa's going for the ball, and Dempsey grabs his leg and forces him down. So Sambuesa's foot has nowhere to go, but Dempsey's face. Now, you guys know that there's not a single one of us here, other than Ronnie, that would defend Sambuesa. We've gone into depth about how much of a scumbag some of these America players can be. So it's definitely not like we're being partisan here. I watched the play, and as soon as I watched the play, I was like, that was really not intentional. But they're gonna make a deal out of it.
Isn't that part of the deal? Isn't that part of the deal though? Like when they're being interviewed, where they're trying to figure out, you know, what players fit. You know, they go, is he fast? Yes. Is he, he has good ball skills. Is he a scumbag? Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Check all the boxes.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the first box they took off, John.
For America.
It wasn't.
I was very worried for Gru America today, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the game was at 7, and as y'all know, the Mexican workday didn't end until about 8, so there was going to be no one in the stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing I didn't see it. Exactly.
No, it didn't fill up. I think I heard something about 40,000 people there.
Eventually.
That's it? Wow.
Which is not a bad. I mean, it's not a bad turnout. You know, when you think about it.
Yeah.
That's MLS type turnout right there.
But so they had that going, and then I was just all the intangibles didn't seem to go America's way. But and then when I was doing my game and I saw that they scored an autogol, I was like, oh man. But America got it right back right after that, so they were able to get on track.
Yeah, America.
But I was really worried about them today. I thought that they really had a chance to. If there was going to be a team that was going to screw it up, it was going to be them, especially with their discipline issues. But it sounds like they were able to manage the game pretty well.
That Seattle defense was horrible.
Yeah,
it's got to be a little bit frustrating though, seeing as that America needs to get slapped in the face before they're able to wake up.
Yeah, America.
Or vice
like
versa.
This weird thing there where they got scored on and boom, right away they scored 2 goals and it's like, okay, well, what I think is troubling for Seattle is how narrow they were playing. It's like you're playing right into America's hands. You're giving them all the space on the wings, and that's how the first 2 goals essentially came. But that's one of the parts that MLS has to work on. And I mean, watching this RSL game right now, this Real Salt Lake game, they've done a pretty good job of shutting Tigres down, and I think they'll feel disappointed if they don't end up winning this game by a larger score at the end of the game.
What's the score now?
It's 1-0, but I mean, Salt Lake has pretty much had the run of play and the chances.
Oh, Guiñaz's getting subbed out for a defender? Wow.
Tigres is not. They haven't even gotten their hands dirty.
That's the Tuca way. I mean.
Yeah, Tuca's being Tuca. Exactly.
I'm kidding.
Hey Dan, for the semifinals between America and Santos, you wanna wager?
No, I'm done betting now.
Would you wanna?
Like the kiss of death. No.
Well, we don't have to bet money. We could put our votes on the line. Like if America wins, you vote for Trump. If Santos wins, I vote for Bernie Sanders.
Isn't that like a violation of federal elections law?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know if and I don't know if I can trust a Republican to ever actually
follow through.
I will record the entire voting process.
Yeah, but we already talked about
your rhetoric.
Man, I can't believe these Republicans have to stick to these low tactics to try to get votes, man.
The Santos coach already said that he doesn't want Dan to vote for him. He says, cada vez que ese Daniel Preciado apuesta de nuestro favor,
perdemos.
Nos perjudica. Dijo que ya, por favor, que ya no apueste.
Yeah, Dan, stick to just cheering for the team, buddy.
Yeah.
I bring the sal. Which was actually, today was kind of funny. I'm not sure if there was some confusion, I guess on the word, how Americans use the term salty, and compared to
Salty Lake City.
or how Mexicans would use them, "Estás bien salado," you know. I believe there was some confusion as to what each phrase meant. So this is my pocho check for the day. Just wondering if, and I'm not sure if you guys are actually the authorities to answer this either. Well, I guess Fernando would be.
Yeah.
To say "estás salado" means you're kind of cursed.
Salado?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cursed.
Where
That
I
was
guess
even an old man in the sea.
some people were misusing it, saying you're salado.
Ardido.
That you're being salty, or like as in bitter or angry.
Salty would be ardido, I guess.
That's how I would put it too. Yeah, ardido.
Are you guys watching this
Man.
game?
Goddamn pochos.
Yeah, dude. The super pochos is what give the pochos a bad name, because most of us we're bilingual. It may not sound that great, but we know what we're saying.
That's a notable distinction.
Yeah.
I agree. This is right now is where Nahuel Guzman is going to earn his paycheck.
Oh, he saved the penalty, right?
Well, they haven't taken it yet.
Well, saved the penalty kick.
Did he?
Wow.
Wow.
That's great. I mean, it's about to be, my feed must be a little behind.
Sorry, Fernando.
Oh wow! Look at the counterattack. Oh my God.
Must be a bitter pill for you to swallow. Okay, now the one thing that I've noticed about CCL, and I've heard a lot of chatter about this, not just necessarily among us, but I think it's going to happen. We can't forget that the people that run the Champions League, it's some, was their MLS, and there's not a doubt in my mind that they're going to try and figure out a way to change the calendar so that the final is played in the fall and not in the spring.
Even if that's the case, but John, even if that's the case, we're going to hear the old excuses that fixture congestion would prevent MLS teams from fielding their best players because of the playoff hunt, and that's what I was saying before. We've had a variation of what they want before, and it still wasn't very favorable to MLS teams, and so I don't imagine that really having the knockout rounds played at a different time of the year is really going to improve things for them, because at the end of the day, the issues with quality and style of play are still there, and the lack of depth that they have is also there, and that's not going to change magically. So it's going to be much of the same, to be honest, I think.
I would agree, but I just find it saddening that they so overtly succumb to the wins of MLS. Like, not to mention like how they somehow don't have to account for the fact that 4 teams represent the country. Five teams actually. 5 teams representing when the results don't even remotely add up to that, and how other countries or other federations are being cheated positions within, like, where I thought it was a shame that really, while it was interesting and fun for American and Mexican fans to see these two teams, these two leagues go at it in the quarters, that's not really inclusive. I mean, you just removed a lot of interesting matches with Central American teams.
Social
There's
justice
no
warrior.
question. There's no reason why MLS deserves 4 teams at 5 with the Canadian team. They should get 2 tops. Period. End of story. Yeah. And you're right. They should give those positions, and it should be based on merit. It should be based on, and then they split up the group so that they're almost guaranteed to make it into the knockouts, because they go up against the Caribbean team and then a Central American team. It's just it's very frustrating to me, because CONCACAF bends over backwards. They're so desperate to make the U.S. market more viable, and they do everything and anything they can in order to exploit that. And I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, what it does is that it makes the rest of the confederation suffer, because there's no reason why. I mean, I think of how much better Panama is over the past 5 or 6 years than they were before, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when their teams were in the Champions League, like Árabe Unido and San Francisco, and those teams, that they competed very well, and then they realized themselves, you know what, we can play with these guys without any problem at all, and then that's going to help us ultimately with the national team. And I just don't understand why don't
to people
understand
that
why
don't
MLS has to
deserve
have.
them is bad. Sorry, I'm just
Yeah,
making
I
notes,
mean,
guys.
well, it's true. They if you go by performance, you're gonna have a very hard time justifying 4 teams, let alone the Canadian team that comes in through MLS to the Canadian Cup. Uh, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of this stuff, the meme that has become the MLS fans have pretty much regurgitated about being CONCACAF. Tigres was just the penalty that Russell Lake just got was not even a penalty. Um, you know,
And it was outside the area,
it was
apparently.
outside the box. You know, and you know the thing is, at the end of the day, I mean, you're not going to see on record or you know, medio tiempo. They're not really going to be making a big deal out of it. You know, even if Tigres ends up being eliminated, they're not going to make a big deal out of the penalty not being a penalty because, you know, last week I said a couple things about the Mexican press, but if there's one thing I'm grateful for, and I mean this, is the fact that our you know, the Mexican press does not allow teams and fans to victimize themselves, even when there's a reason to do it, even when there's been reasons in Libertadores or Sudamericana, and there's plenty of examples when we've been on the receiving end of
Santos in 200004 with redoing the penalties.
Exactly.
America, every
Cruz
time they
Azul,
lose.
right?
Yeah,
You know?
Robinho, when Cruz Azul played against Santos, when Unam played against Boca Juniors, Abondancieri, who should have been,
Exactamente.
Jesus. I mean, I could
You
go
know,
on and on.
that's what I'm saying. There's
And those
plenty
were
of
actually
examples, man.
gross. Those
Yeah,
were blatant.
gross, blatant, absolute favoritism. And you know what? It's become a footnote in the history of Mexican soccer. It's
Well,
not like
remember when Santos was in the Copa Libertadores? You know the CONMEBOL officials were trying to give Santos a hard time because at the time they were playing in that crappy stadium, La Comarca.
before it got remodeled. Yep. Or the new one. The new one. Yeah.
The new one.
You mean the Palace?
Hey, hey,
Well,
pardon the interruption, but did you guys see the save by the Tigres goalie, and then how when he was trying to catch the rebound, the MLS player just went and dove at the goalie and tripped him,
Yeah,
and
that's
that was
you know.
disgusting, man. Oh my
But that's the
God.
thing, you know. It's that stuff like that happens. I feel like whatever the players on the field, they once the game's over, they shake hands. It's not a big deal to them. The problem is the narratives that are built around the fan and the fans and the media. And like I was just to finish what I was saying before, Ronnie's right. I mean, we can point towards a lot of examples of Mexican teams really getting jobbed, and they've become footnotes. I mean, it's just part of the it's just kind of part of the conversation, but it's not an excuse and it's not a crutch that is propped up for us to feel better about ourselves. And I think that's actually one of the things that helps the league grow. You know what? We got job, whatever. We go down. Pumas just went down there.
I'm loving this, this conversation because I mean I've learned a lot about, like for example that, to give MLS 4 things, and them not deserve it, and taking it from others, it's wrong.
I think
Is it wrong?
well, hold on, Ronnie.
What did I say?
Hold on.
It's actually better for us Mexicans, man, because we get to be easy MLS teams.
No, it's just I've learned that you're not supposed to play the victim because it's counterproductive. I've learned.
I would agree.
I've learned today.
I've learned today. The MLS was never taking anything. They're taking stuff.
Breathe. Calm down. Breathe.
They were
Calm
taking
down.
away. Do you understand that, Ronnie?
Yeah, Ronnie.
There's a difference.
Ronnie's
It's
such
like-
a troll, man.
That's all he does, man.
You know how this
I'm
is
playing
actually
along.
Are
these
you
MLS
victimizing yourself, Ronnie?
Yeah,
Don't be a
he
victim, dude.
He's like,
It's like those business
I'm
owners
just trolling.
who
I'm
get those
trolling.
who get those tax breaks that they don't deserve.
Ronnie, were you
All right,
going to bring
well,
up the light issue with the stadium?
Which one?
When you were talking about La Comarca, when
yeah.
they demanded they have lights for night games?
Well, no, that was at the Bombonera. No, at the Comarca they were talking about that because it was the Comarca had like 19,000 seats or something like that, and the rules were that it had to have like 20,000 or like plus. So they actually wanted Santos to play their game in Estadio Azteca for obvious reasons, more money. But and they're saying that the stadium didn't, wasn't up to code and stuff like that.
You're
At
talking
least,
about the old stadium, right?
yeah, the old stadium.
I remember the.
But then Televisa Deportes did a report, and they showed one of Chile's stadium from Cobreloa, who actually had wooden seats, dude, wooden stands. Dude, can you believe that crap, dude? Mexico hasn't had those since like the 1920s and 30s, dude.
Yeah, I remember with the lights, how they said they needed to have lights in the stadium, and then after they installed them, like I don't know if it was a team from Bolivia or Venezuela, they didn't even have lights.
Where they have all the cars in the parking lot line up around the stadium and around the field, turn them on so they could play at night.
Pretty much, man.
That's great.
But you know, it's funny you guys talking about all these raw. I mean, believe me, and I could go down the list too, not just for club size, but national team, which just makes me laugh so much that when Mexico actually catches a break or a Mexican team actually catches a break, it's like the worst possible thing. It's like a crime for Mexico to catch a break in a, whether it's in a tournament or whether it's in a big game like that, and like what happened last summer where even the announcers are like, Andres Guardado, you have to miss this penalty kick.
Yeah.
Just
give it back, guys.
No.
We don't deserve this one, guys. Give it back.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys think about what the Tigres goalie Nahuel just did right now? He decided to go down holding his head. Oh, my hand hurts, to waste time. Wow.
Are you victimizing yourself again, Pern?
I'm just wondering what you guys think, what kind of goalie
I think
from...
it depends on what the situation is. If, I'm not, people are going to make time and they make time. I get that, it happens. But, if it's pretty egregious, then, he's going to get a yellow card for it and that'll be bad. And they'll end it. If the ref allows it, then the ref's going to. Now, I think that's kind of stupid because that ends up adding time in the back end and then you get hosed anyway. So, to me, you want to get to 90 as fast as possible. So they don't add more stoppage time.
Although the one positive though that can be from that strategy is you could like I guess frustrate your opponent because they're gonna wanna play fast. So if you were able to slow the game and do it to a point where you could annoy them, you can actually piss them off into making mistakes. I think that's part of the gamesmanship. I'm absolutely totally okay with it. And like you said,
I especially like it when Tigres does that against Monterrey. It's really. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Monterrey.
Good job. I'm glad you're learning.
Good Lord. I don't want to. I forgot that the Academia Española is listening to us. I want to make sure
they are, dude. They absolutely are listening. So you better. Yeah.
We're purifying your pocho out little by little. Don't worry, man.
Roll my R's and use my U's and A's instead of E's and O's.
Unfortunately for us. Yeah. We have Fernando as our lone true Mexican on the show.
Dan, it's almost time for our weekly. I want to interject. Our weekly farandula segment to find out what's going on with the extra cancha stuff with our buddy Joel. Joel, do you have any good juicy gossip that you can fill us in on?
Not anything juicy, but Chivas did. They renamed their stadium. Yeah, it's
what is it now?
Just Chivas Stadium, but it used to be OmniLife. So they're trying to sell the name.
The naming rights?
Yeah, they're trying to sell them, and so I don't know.
That's gonna be an Angélica Fuentes move.
Oye, ¿cuál es una marca de escuchados en México? Because that'd be perfect. It looks like.
Oh.
I think it would have been a smart idea to do it when they actually opened, but now who wants to put their name on Chivas?
You should call it El Flotador, because a lot of turds float
I hope they break out.
You know what, Dan? That is true, man. They picked the worst time, to look for a.
Like you don't wait till you're broke
to look for a sponsor.
Yeah, you don't wait till you're broke to ask for money. I mean, you gotta.
I guess it will be cheap, though. I guess it will be a cheap. You know what I mean?
You know what would be a great sponsor? Liga de Ascenso.
You know what part of it? I think because they're losing. They're gonna lose the sponsorship for Bimbo, which has been pulling out from sponsoring a lot of the soccer teams.
Pull
Easy,
out,
Ronnie.
pull out.
Really now, yeah.
Ronnie,
Yeah.
easy. Easy.
Bimbo pulled out. Damn, man.
Did y'all
Hello?
So what's
Se fue Johnny. No, no, going with the stadiums, since we were talking about stadiums, I don't know if you guys have covered this, but I think Jalisco Stadium, it doesn't meet the requirements that Liga MX wants. So unless they upgrade the stadium, which is about 20 million, I don't think Atlas will be able to play on it. I don't know if it's next season or for next year. So I
Well,
mean,
they can always rent the Estadio OmniLife. I mean, the Estadio Chivas.
yeah, that you know what, that is a possibility. They might have to move over there or play in Teco's old stadium if that one.
Or move to Monterrey and use their shiny new
Estadio
stadium.
3 de Marzo?
But yeah, and you know, cause the stadium is owned by Clubes Unidos Jalisco, and it was when Vergara built the stadium, he didn't care anymore what happened with the Jalisco Stadium. So it's just what Leones Negros and
the
just all that.
Jalisco,
Well,
the
the way he
Jalisco needs a major renovation. There's
well,
no question.
the way he got around that is because technically, Guadalajara, the Asociación Civil, the civil association, they're technically still owners of the Clubes Unidos. They're still part owners, but remember Chivas or Vergara, he named the club as Chivas de Corazón S.A. de CB. So that's how he was able to go around that.
Well, oh, you know what? Speaking of that, I think that's what Cruz Azul is doing at the moment.
Well,
It's not getting covered. It's not getting covered, which is weird because you don't really hear anything about it. But I think
Cruz Azul is a co-op still. I mean, but they have if I'm not mistaken, I have the club registered as as an AC as well. So they're technically they're not an S corporation.
No, I know, but there's some stuff going on where some people are trying to take down Billy.
Isn't there always something going on at the back office of Cruz Azul?
Oh.
Yeah, well, they're saying that they won. They won.
Goal Tigres, Guignac.
Well, I don't have enough info, but I heard that
Well done.
that
Well
Cruz
done, Ronnie.
Azul lost the rights to the name.
Cruz Azul?
Yeah.
So they Cruz Azulearon the name? That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I think he has
watching the fans from Salt Lake, they're just devastated right now, dude. Their expressions.
Well,
What's going on?
Salt Lake had a very good game tonight.
Well,
they're gonna drown their sorrows in Coca-Cola tonight. Sorry, Chiquis.
Mexican Coke, I would hope.
No, man, that's caffeine, dude. They can't even have that either.
I mean, hey, Chiquis, maybe you can help me out when something like this happens. Like, do you know which wife to beat out of frustration?
La más fea.
Well, you got two hands, right?
It's a nice goal. Very nice goal by Guignac.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like I wonder, like which more, like in the Mormons, like which wife are you supposed to hit? When you're frustrated.
That's gotcha, man.
That's good. Good.
Like
the silence is
the closest to the biggest, the ugliest. There's a number.
Remember, I'm not married. So every time I have, I don't have kids and I'm not married. So that's why I always ask Pern and Beto these questions because I'm just trying to learn.
So you wanna know the best way to beat up your wife? Damn.
I think we should probably end that conversation right there.
We don't want to be promoting domestic violence.
Yeah, just saying. This
is gonna get edited. This will be edited for the iTunes version.
No, there's nothing to be scared of. I'm just saying. Let's have some proper etiquette here.
Speaking of Tigres, I think that they had another game over the weekend where they were able to come back from a goal deficit and
Oh yeah, who
Pretty
was that
much
against?
just put a whooping on their opponent.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember it was.
It was like, was it like domestic violence type?
Yeah.
So again, my question is, when America loses the lead like that, is it considered a descremada?
They were the cremas at one point.
Not funny. Not funny.
I thought that was pretty funny, but that's probably the funniest thing all night.
Yeah.
Because they did it against Cruz Azul, la descremaron contra Cruz Azul, y la descremaron contra Tigre.
That's some domestic violence
That was
right
actually a really brutal loss. I mean, do you actually have anything to say about that, Ronnie?
What was the question?
Well, I'm just curious. What were your thoughts of the game? Like, are you starting to come along and start thinking that maybe your boy needs to go?
Ambris?
Yeah.
He didn't build the team. So honestly, I'd rather see some of the players go than Ambris.
Gonzalo Pineda said that if he lost this game, when was it, yesterday?
Mourinho watch begins in earnest.
Or today. If he would have lost his game today, he would have been gone. That's what.
I would have to agree.
But thanks to God, though, that, what's his name, Darwin Quintero put the team on his back again and took the team to victory today.
Are you saying that Darwin Quintero basically like a gorilla carried something on his back? I'm just saying, dude.
No, I'm just saying you're breaking up now. Fortunately, you're breaking up.
No, I absolutely heard everything he said.
I think Pern is saying that America is built on Quintero's back.
Absolutely. He's the one who brings the team to the top, He has
Are you saying he laid down some roots at America?
He definitely laid some pipe.
Jesus, all right, guys. That's enough.
I'm a terrible host, man.
So are you saying that Quintero's the third?
Terrible job of keeping you guys in line.
Okay, we need to make sure
John
Chiquis is going to edit some of this stuff out, man. This is
Sounds like I can't even take one night off from hosting this without it turning to complete crap.
When the mice come out to play,
Yeah, and you got to crack the whip, man. You got to just like nip at the bud and switch topics.
Hold on,
my biggest issue is that I find the topics entertaining, even if they are distasteful. We're living being recorded, so. But yeah, sage advice, John. Sage advice.
Well, who has better hair, Nacho Ambriz or Almeida?
Almeida.
Oof.
Almeida does.
Well, how can you hate on the mullet, man?
That thick.
La melena, or the Brillo pad. I mean, that's really what
that thick tieso stuff is not good.
Hey, so the Tigres game's over, so I guess that no fue vergüenza nacional. Thanks to God.
So honestly, Pern, were you rooting for Real Salt Lake? You can tell us.
What? What are you talking about, man?
Oh Christ, dude! Just say
Actually, I'm gonna answer for him since he refuses to. I'm gonna say that he was rooting for us. Of all, if you take a picture with Omar after all of the crap he talked about him, and chum it up and take a selfie with Omar Bravo of all people, then his Mexicanness knows no limit, and he's loyal now. So thinking as much as he hates the when faced against the Gringos, I think he probably holds it inside, but I'm thinking he's rooting for Tigres.
It actually brings up an interesting topic because I know that Pern is, whether it's, loyalty or just the fact that he's very passionate, but the Clásico Regio is coming up this weekend.
Yes.
And it's a great game. Every game of those, they're always, rarely are they boring. It's going to be the first one at the Tamalera, so it's going to be the first one in the new stadium. And, and it's something that I said earlier. There's no question that when it comes to, intercity derbies, that Tigres Rayados is far and away the best, derby, whatever you want to call it, in Liga MX. Better than América Cruz Azul, better than the Joven, and better than the Tapatío, in my opinion.
John, how about so that we don't sound like phony Englishmen or lame Americans? How about we say derby?
El derby.
El derby.
El
Guys,
derby,
throwing it
el
out there.
derby
Giving you an option.
regiomontano.
John,
Yes, sir.
America Chivas. Well, I'm sorry, America.
No. I'm not talking. I'm not talking.
No,
Go ahead.
we're talking we're talking derbies. We're talking derbies.
No, we're talking
No.
clásicos.
No, America, and Cruz Azul. America and Cruz Azul have met in 3 finals, league finals. Not to mention they have met in like over I think 15 Liguilla matches, playoff matches. Now America UNAM, they've also met in 3 league finals, and also countless playoffs. Monterrey and Tigres, I'm sorry, have never met in a final.
So what?
Well, that
Well,
adds that adds bragging rights.
No, it's not. It doesn't.
Yeah,
add
but the
anything. It just means that
problem-
Tigres is not that good.
But you're absolutely right.
Keep in mind. Hey, in '90s, I mean, we're talking like in the '90s, dude. Tigres went down. They got relegated twice. So I mean, the money that Cemex has been putting up, has been really since the past 20 years going forward. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a big game. It is a big game, and it's one of the biggest games on the calendar. But, let's not try to be all Wilbur-esque and try to make it sound like
I'm not being Wilbur-esque. My point is that, in Mexico City up until very recently, there were, 5, 6 teams in Mexico City alone. The same in Guadalajara, there were, 3 or 4 teams. What makes this one so special is that there's only 2 teams in Monterrey, and really, if you talk to any Regios, I mean, it is the loyalties are split almost evenly right down the middle.
No,
that's what makes this game so good.
No, they are, and I'm glad. Believe it or not, I am glad because I'm glad that there's money that's being spent outside of like Mexico City. Torreon, they have a serious ownership group. Obviously, the 2 Monterrey teams have serious ownership groups. I'm very happy about that. It's only good for the league. But like I said, when people say, oh, the classical, the derby in Monterrey, it's now bigger than the national or even America Cruz Azul. No, it's
I don't
not.
know if it's bigger, but it's certainly more fun to watch.
Well, right now because both teams are doing well. So obviously,
But that too. But aside from that, though, I mean, when the mics are loud and you get to hear the atmosphere and the fans, it's a much more even from the TV. It's
Absolutely. I don't know what Ronnie's smoking on.
It's
now here.
I think as far as passion goes, it's the most passionate of rivalries.
Now, speaking of derbies, and I'm glad we're talking about this because this is actually something that's very close to heart to me.
Yeah, because your team is involved in almost all of them.
No. Independent. No, this actually has nothing to do with America. This is actually a new topic regarding derbies, and it was actually in the news this week. FC Politécnico, basically, they're going to be in the second or in the third division, and they came out that their goal is to be in Liga MX by the year 2020. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but Politécnico, that is UNAM's biggest rival. Politécnico, that's my dad's alma.
That's right.
That's my dad's alma mater. That's my dad's.
The white donkey.
Yes, los burros blancos.
They're the 2 public. Aren't they the 2 public universities in Mexico City?
No, Poli is private.
Poli's okay, it's private.
No. Poli's not private. It's not
I'm
private.
thinking of Tech.
La de Valle de México. También esa sí es privada.
No, but it's 2. I mean, the rivalry that these 2 teams, know each other, especially on the gridiron, no less, can topple basically, the Clásico Nacional and stuff like that.
Well, they're probably tired of getting their asses beat on the football field. That's what they want
well,
to see if they can
what I'm saying
get
is
their
that
asses beat on the soccer field.
Meaning that the authorities have had to cancel so many matches between these two universities because of the rivalry. Now, back in the 50s or back in the 60s, actually back in the 60s, there was a ownership group that wanted to get Politécnico into the football pyramid, but it didn't really pan out. Obviously, UNAM did. You had Manuel Negrete basically go out there and support Politecnico. You also had no, you also had Atlantis owner, what's his name, Garces, go out there and basically support, because he's also an alumni. You're talking about a university that has over 400,000 alumni in the in the country. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if they're serious, this is going to be a team to watch out for. And honestly, this might be one of my teams to root for, that I'm going to be rooting for.
They're gonna have to get by. They're gonna have to get by Mapache.
So now you're a Plastic America fan? Jesus.
Wow.
Hey, I actually tweeted this when I found out. I tweeted them. I said, look, although I've never taken a class at the Politecnico, I said I have to thank them for the education that they gave my father. And they actually responded back to me, and I actually had a couple replies. Saying to me, hey, same here.
Were they surprised that he could read and write?
No, but I'm just saying that that in Derby wise, I'm actually looking forward to it, and I hope it happens.
No, that would actually be really awesome if they were able to somehow make it up to first division, or they could just buy their way in, like.
No, well,
like some other schools.
they wanted to do it the good old fashioned way, like the way Tecos did it, where they started off in the third division, got the second division, and then
the Pumas did too.
True.
Did it? Yeah. Well, that would be fantastic. It would be good to see.
I don't think it's gonna get to the level of Clásico Regio, but
I mean, I can already start.
Dude, it would surpass the Clásico Regio. Like, I mean,
dude,
it would turn the Clásico Regio to the Clásico Tapatío. Nobody cares.
Hey, John or Beto, can you guys Google right now? A la cachi porra. A la cachi porra.
I'm in the car, dude. So my audio services are unavailable.
Can you Google that or put it on YouTube and then play a clip of it for me, please? Yeah. Come on, no, keep it going. Keep it going. Porra. All right, never mind.
Whatever entertains you, dude.
I'm just saying, I gotta show them love, man. I gotta show them love.
I love it.
Parecen como los verduleros.
So in the Champions League, it's going to be Tigres against Querétaro, and then Santos against América. So the final is probably going to be Tigres against whomever.
I honestly think the winner of the Santos América is going to take the title.
Against them, they're going to be Tigres.
Honestly, I think it's going to be Buse. I think he's going to find a way to beat Tuca.
I agree with Ronnie that Tuca.
It's going to be an awesome chess match. There's no question.
No, it is. I know.
The two best coaches in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean they're phenomenal. I mean they're.
With all due respect to Matias El Mesias,
Hey, let me comment something on Pern.
It could be that
question. The Pern question that you guys have been asking him. A true club fan, say for example an Americanista, would root for Clint Dempsey if Seattle played Chivas. They would root for not only MLS team against their rival,
player too,
but or even for the player Clint Dempsey, United States national team player, to beat their rival Chivas. So if Pern was a real Monterrey fan, he would say, yes, I root for MLS, and I hope they beat Tigres.
I think that's an excellent point, Beto. I think if nothing else, if we've learned anything tonight, is that we have some serious victim complex going on tonight, and Pern, you gotta commit, bro.
Dodgers.
You gotta commit, man. You gotta
Dodgers,
commit.
Yeah.
I committed to the league like a long time ago, man. What are you talking about?
For Christ's sake, dude.
Also, one of our members, used the Simeone machine today for the first time.
That's right, John. Jesus. Mitoteros.
Oh,
what did he say? He rode the Simeone.
Another final comment on the CCL stuff. It was weird because after the DC United loss, their Twitter account said something like "shrug" or something like, "Oh well, now our preseason's over."
Yep.
The
So,
it was the LA Galaxy one.
wasn't that the Galaxy? It was a Galaxy tweet.
Both of them did. Both
Well,
of
they
them.
both did, yeah.
One said "Welp."
Yeah, that was DC United, and the other one was LA Galaxy, the one where they did the shrug
Fucking
emoticon,
shoulders, yeah.
which
Pitiful, man. That's sort of sad.
It is. I'm glad you brought it up. I think I'm not embarrassed by it.
Liga, you know what?
With a straight face.
Liga MX needs to troll them for that.
I think the results in the feelers is trolling enough. I mean, they were the ones running their mouths before the games.
They got slammed by their own fans though, and one of them, I think DC United or one of them actually said apologized and said sorry for that. We didn't mean to offend anybody or anything, but they got slammed.
The one that the LA Galaxy sent out wouldn't surprise me if whoever does their Twitter account either gets fired or suspended. Yeah.
Actually, I think somebody did get fired at the at DC United. I think I read something about that earlier today.
Well, they really should though, because they're hurting the image of the team. You're basically telling fans who went to that game that the organization itself doesn't really care.
Pretty much.
It's like, thanks for your money, sucker. We didn't care anyway.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It does that. Fans. It devalues. It cheapens it tries to cheapen the victory, saying like, oh, well, we weren't all that invested anyway. Even though your star player, one of your star players, was just quoted as saying is that they were closing the gap, and then reality slaps you. Go ahead, Christian.
Well, that's like it's almost like a Groundhog Day. Every year we hear the same stuff before the games, and then after the games, the excuses kind of come out, and it's like, ugh. So I was saying earlier, it's like if I was an actual fan of any one of these teams, I would at this point I would just be annoyed with the constant rhetoric prior to the games, only to come out with excuses after the games. Like I get it, the preseason, the altitude.
Well, here's what I don't understand.
Oh, Jesus.
That if I was an MLS team and I knew I was playing these games, there's one team that had success, and it was last year it was a terrible team. It was Montreal, but they actually did their preseason in Mexico. They played preseason games. And it turned out it actually worked out very well for them because they ended up beating Pachuca in the quarterfinals, which was a shock. They made it all the way to the final because they actually took it seriously and did, and took enough steps to where it actually worked out for them, and they were able to at least achieve a certain level of success. Like a team like Galaxy, okay, their season ended either in late October, November, I forget when it was.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you start your preseason in January to get ready for these games? These are big.
There are some issues with.
Games.
Well, there's some issues with the collective bargaining agreement that they have between the players and the league. The players, they just did a whole new round of negotiations a few months ago, and I think what they agreed upon was that the players needed, I think, at least a minimum of 6 weeks off. For the off season, and so I think there's a conflict there with how early they can start their preseason, legally speaking. But you're right. I mean, Montreal did it last year in the sense that they went down to Mexico for 2 weeks and they prepared, and they also got some help from the league. The MLS front office moved a bunch of games for them at the beginning of the season so they could focus solely on playing the Champions League. Like I said, the thing is, like, these are things that are disadvantages to MLS teams, but they're self-inflicted wounds. I mean, there's really nothing that Liga MX or the Costa Rican League or any other league or even CONCACAF can do for them in that sense. They need to figure out their own schedule because the rest of the leagues in the continent are doing it. We're aligned. Everybody else is aligned with FIFA counter. So what are we supposed to do?
You want to hear a live stream?
Are you near a Simeone machine, or is that what you're telling us?
No, just taking a leak.
Ah, lovely.
No, we don't want to hear that.
Lovely. Yeah.
You could go ahead and mute him, Chiquis. No one wants to hear that.
Chica's gonna have a big editing job tomorrow. You have to edit a lot.
Not to mention, we don't have the time for the stop and go.
So Cuauhtemoc is playing this weekend, eh?
Yeah.
30 minutes or so. Old man.
That's the idea. I wonder if the Morelia loses the game, if they're going to appeal.
If I were the other team, you know what I'd do to Cuauhtemoc? I'd give him like the biggest planchazo right in the first minute.
Just
Boom.
in half.
Yeah.
Might as well.
That would be a fantastic troll job by the opposing team.
I remember
just take out the other team.
Yeah, a few years ago, Chivas trotted out Chava Reyes out there against Pumas. And, it was, he was in his 60s or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and I was
but he was
that
out
was
there
the
for
same
like a
thing. I was
minute.
like, dude, just go out there. Just gash him good. Just really plant one hard on him.
Oh, that'd be such a dick move. On Chava Reyes. Dude was pretty old, man. You can't,
Real quickly, I just want to say hello to another listener joining us today is Serge. Sergio?
Serge.
Thanks for listening, man.
Does he have any questions or comments?
That you don't. No, basically he's asking Jolie to out for a date and excluding me. He wants to have a beer with Jolie Benani.
That's because we have a bond, Dan.
Hey.
We crossed streams a long time ago. True story.
Jesus.
We were at a bar.
We actually.
No, we were at a bar. I went to the bathroom and this dude kept looking at me, and I was like, "Do I know you?" And then yeah, it was Serge, and I was like, we were just talking in the urinal, and it just happened.
At what point did you recognize him?
It just happened.
When you looked down. When you looked at him at the urinal, is that when you recognized him? You're like, oh, Sergio.
He had the medical underwear. So I was like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I actually had a pretty fun experience with him at a bar in LA many years ago where he recognized some Salvadorians, a group of Salvadorians hanging out. And I was like, gosh, I'm like, man, they're loud, man. I'm like, what are they like? Well, I was just commenting on they're loud. I didn't know what they were, and he's like, oh, I bet you anything they're Saudis. And so it was actually kind of funny though because eventually they did end up talking us up because I believe one of us was wearing a soccer jersey, and lo and behold, he's like, watch. He's like, just watch. He's like, they're gonna say something awful about Mexicans, and 2 seconds later, man, they dropped the bombs. Like, you know what I don't like about Mexicans is like, oh man, well, like, that's how you introduce yourself.
How did he know that they were Salvadorians? Were they wearing like River Plate jerseys, or was it because they smelled different?
No, I believe it was the way they were speaking. He recognized, I believe, the accent, or maybe some of the language.
Jesus.
The phrasing. There's a lot of gran putas being thrown around, or mierda. There was a lot of that too.
Wait, was this the time when you were saying that you would cheer for their team, Dan?
Were you there too?
I heard this story.
Were you there too?
I wasn't.
I was like, I'm forgetting. But yeah, actually, I think that does. We're at gosh. He told me, he's like, man, I told you not to talk to him, man. I told you not to talk to him. Because yeah, anyways, but yeah, it was that same night. But he did call them out. So thanks again. I know that was a long tangent, but thanks for listening, Serge.
That's how it was over there at the bar in Houston at Rita's.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It was full of chapines and
like catrachas and shit like that. And it's like, every time. This is in the PSN days. This is before, like, Libertadores was on Fox and stuff like that. That's when I used to go watch games. And you could always tell. You could always tell who the Mexicans were and who were the Central Americans or the South Americans. It's because
the funny thing for me when I went. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, because every time a South American team would score, everybody that was non-Mexican would cheer, So it was always an us against them thing.
When I went there, it was during the qualifiers for 06, and Mexico was playing Panama, and my house I was staying here. My hotel didn't have the Telemundo. I forget what channel it was on, so I said, "Oh, I'll go to this place." So I barely got in there because they had like the guy counting for the fire marshal. So I barely make it in, and Guatemala was playing somebody. I can't remember who they were playing. And the whole place was full of Chapines. They had like 6 huge screens. All of them were showing that game. They put the Mexico game on the 9-inch TV behind the bar.
Yeah. Consider
And
yourself
it was me and
lucky.
some dude from Durango. We were the only Mexicans in there watching it.
That sounds about right.
And of course, in Guatemala, they were down 4-0 at halftime.
See, but you didn't have to go to Ritas to watch Mexico. I mean,
Well,
the
no,
Chapines.
well, I'm sure
Central-
I didn't,
Cen-
but
no,
I didn't know where. I
Central-
didn't know where I was. It was, by the way, that part of Houston,
Yeah.
zoning area, very interesting. Very, very
So-
interesting businesses in that part of Houston.
Because the thing is, and I think up until recently, I mean, to watch like Central American teams, you know, in the World Cup qualifiers here in the United States, it was still pay-per-view.
Right.
So you had to go to a bar and stuff like that. But for like Mexico, you could just go to any taqueria or and watch it, on Telemundo or Univision or whatever. But yeah, dude, believe it or not, though, although I talk a lot of smack about Ritas, I always had fun going there. I always had fun.
I bet you did.
Well, it's funny because I went there once in Houston. I went to this other place during the Eurocopa in 2004. It was like the Kingsford Arms. I forget what it was called. And the atmosphere was it was so much better at Rita's. I mean, it just really was.
Yeah.
All these.
I don't think that happens anymore, huh?
What's that?
People leaving home to go see a game.
I mean,
It depends, I think. I mean, maybe like a World Cup final. I've never watched a World Cup final at home. I've always watched it somewhere else. Especially since I've been old enough to drink at this point. It's 2 or 3 World Cups now. It's just I don't know. I mean, Mexico. I mean, it depends on where you live, I guess.
But it seems there's more at stake if you had to pay to get in.
Oh well, yeah, that's the thing. In that case, yeah, you grab a 6-pack and you go home. I mean, what are you gonna pay for?
The sad reality for me is like, especially during World Cup or even one qualifiers, I thought for like during the actual World Cup, I'm such a nervous wreck that I can't watch it anywhere but at home, and I have to be alone. I can't have anybody near me. I'm just a ball of nerves. And my wife is like, she's like, I've got to get out of here. I can't take you like this. Like she thinks that I'm like I turned into a different person.
Yep, I know what that's like. I mean, I ended up watching the.
And start beating her up.
Start slapping her around.
Lucha Libre, dude.
I watched the Concachampions Cup. The USA Mexico game from October. I ended up watching it at a bar, and there was baseball going on. There was playoffs. I think it was college football, and I don't know. There's probably easily maybe 100 people at the bar, and I was the only guy watching the game. And obviously, when Paul Aguilar scored the game winner, I'm the only asshole that's jumping up and down and celebrating, and people were just looking at me like, what the hell's going on? The Yankees are playing. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Yeah, so yeah, I think John's got a point there. For the most part, I do watch Mexico games by myself, in my apartment, with something to drink, some cigarettes or whatever, some puppies I can kick if everything goes wrong. You just want to be prepared, man. You want to be ready.
When I was a smoker, that was the Mexico games in the World Cup that was a 2-pack affair.
Oh Christ!
I would smoke 40 cigarettes.
You were like La Volpe,
Yeah.
Speaking of La Volpe, I think the last game that I saw pay-per-view at Rita's was, and I think like afterwards I went back home and I was chatting with you, Holy, was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the game where the under-23 team beat the U.S. 4-0, with La Volpe coaching.
You know what? I was
Gachas.
actually going to go see that game and I missed it. I got stuck in traffic.
Gachas Iñiguez.
That's right.
Yeah, well, and I remember I was telling you because I mean honestly, and I'll give La Volpe credit. I mean he outcoached the team because I mean Mexico played beautifully that game.
Yeah.
I mean it was a really good exhibition of.
Wait, that's when that was the Olympic qualifiers.
Yeah, that was
Jalisco.
that was the Olympic qualifiers.
That's where they didn't finish first, right? It wasn't in Costa Rica.
No, they won the group and they went to the Olympics and tied all 3 games.
Didn't
No, I
Costa
think-
Rica finish first?
I think they finished second in the group, and that's why I had to play the U.S. in the semifinals. I think Corley, you got a point there.
People forgot though, because the game was good. They
Yeah.
picked the U.S., so they didn't care. That's when Donovan, I think, pissed on the field, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's
They
the game where
practice.
American fans got all upset because like 3 people in the stadium were chanting Osama, and they thought
Right.
that, and of course they reported it that the entire stadium was chanting it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's where one of those memes came from, And then the other one was Martin Rogers from Yahoo News, when he was talking about people throwing he wrote a whole article about how he watched a guy piss into a bag and then throw it at players, and that became its own thing. And one of the things I always wondered is,
¡Ahí va el agua!
right? But the thing is, like in this day and age, right? I mean, because people still talk. I mean, I've already seen comments about it. At least yesterday in Torreon. And I'm thinking, like, in this day and age, when everybody has a smartphone and everybody's taking selfies at the game, like if this was actually so prevalent, like you'd think.
Why isn't he
Someone would have
calling the
video.
police? Why isn't he calling security? If there's a guy exposing himself in the middle of thousands of people, why are you writing about it?
Well, the whole thing
Maybe
is like,
he's got a super package.
But
Have you guys ever tried to go to the bathroom at the
That's
Estadio
stuck.
Azteca?
yeah, I don't. You don't. You
Yeah,
hold it
exactly.
in. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't leave. You're not gonna. You're gonna get lost for 30 minutes trying to find a bathroom. Nah, I'll just wait. I'll wait till after the game.
I was going to that stadium and I went down a tunnel thinking I was going to, because I was working for NFL Films, thinking we're going to get back on the field. We ran into mountains of ice.
Yeah.
It just in a tunnel. Yeah, just at the Estadio Azteca, just ice. There was ice everywhere.
I went to the John. I went to the bathroom in Azteca, but it was in the press.
Did you
And
say
there
you
was
met up
no
with a
problems
John?
there. Huh?
You said you met up with a John?
No, I mean, I was gonna say, John, I went to the bathroom.
Okay.
Oh.
No.
So that's the story that you went to the bathroom
That's
at
okay.
the.
Joel,
the-
Joel
No,
went to the
I
restroom.
didn't go through all the
Where he got Schroedered? Okay.
Joel's
was
ready
there-
for the Kohler touch toilet.
Was there
Estadio Kohler touch toilet Chivas.
was there was there a glory hole over there?
It probably is, man.
It led,
No, man, the glory holes are only at the Azul.
it led to the.
Well
You know what?
done.
You know what surprised me the most about Azteca? I mean, the Azteca Stadium, their TV Azteca booth.
What?
It
They're
looked
really
like
nice?
it looked like they were trolling them. It looked like those high school, football game booths.
Yeah, dude. The press.
You could just walk in there like anyone can just. It's just like a little. It looked like a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
I'm looking in there and then it's Luis Garcia and Martinoli and it's kind of surreal because I'm like, what the fuck is this, And they're actually calling the game and I just.
No, he is right about that. The press accommodations at the Azteca, they're not really up to par. However, if I read the article correctly, you know how they're doing a lot of renovations at the Azteca.
That's right.
I mean, and you can see right now like that entire area where the restaurant is
pretty
at.
much sectioned off, yeah.
Well, I believe that for the one of the reasons they were able to get the NFL back at Azteca was they had to build these they're building like these 2 or 3 locker rooms, like enough to fit in a football team. Because remember, on like NFL teams, they travel with like 50-something players.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, soccer, I think there's 18 to 23 lockers.
Yeah.
So they're making these big ass locker rooms, and also they're fixing all the bathrooms at the stadium. They're also gonna do retrofit some of the suites, which honestly, some of them are beautiful. They're nice as hell. But and I think they're also fixing the press, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they
Well,
are.
the Estadio Azteca is the original stadium that had luxury suites.
Yeah,
That's where all the American stadiums got the idea. It's actually like the first modern stadium. Because if you think of stadiums before the Azteca, you think of like the Rose Bowl, where the stands kind of went out instead of up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Estadio Azteca was one of the first places where the stands went up.
Yeah. I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, some of those luxury suites are just beautiful. I mean,
Well,
they're nice. But
John Sutcliffe yesterday said that they're spending between $4 and $5 million just to renovate the locker rooms, and like Ronnie said, they're going to build, I think, 2 extra locker rooms that are going to be just huge. They're pouring just that kind of money into the locker rooms alone. That's only part of the locker rooms. It's $4 to $5 million they're going to spend on that. So,
well, if you think honestly about the BBC that's going to be there for the NFL,
yeah,
they really do need to fit the locker room.
You're right. You got to fit the BBC somewhere, right?
That's what she said.
Man. There's Pern. That's when you wake up, buddy.
Yeah.
That's when you chime in, man. Come on.
So,
No,
fellas,
those are technical difficulties.
I think we're past it now, so we're up against it. So unless you guys have closing thoughts, I think we'll probably start wrapping this up. Yay for taking care of business today. So I just want to make sure that we get that clear. That we're all very happy and content with today's results. Closing thoughts? All right. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
I got nothing to say other than it's been another great night with you guys, and we'll see. There's some good games coming up this weekend as well, so things are going to get interesting.
Yes, we're going to have another fun-filled week of Liga MX. We get to take a break from the Champions League for a bit now, at least since the MLS side of it, a portion of it has been ousted. Oh, yeah. So, on behalf of the Dos a Cero football podcast, keep it going, dude. Keep it going. I could. We need an outro.
At a good volume.
Oh yeah. Just bring it down a little bit. But it was fun, even though I did feel the rust trying to host again. But it was fun doing it. Thanks for allowing me, guys. Thanks for joining the show and making it another fun-filled couple hours discussing Mexi footy. So to the listeners, all 2 of you, Sergio and Wiso, thank you for joining. Please tune in next week, guys. We are the Dos a Cero podcast.